Would you like to comment on both of them, or either one of them, or none of them?
No, I would like to comment, so I will comment on that, and I'll allow, our finance director also to weigh in on that last one. So the first one, so our police department and we have a couple of our great officers here with us tonight, our police officers have my utmost respect, and I can guarantee you that they do not take those types of incidences lightly. And there's a lot, and like I said, there's a lot of information not out there, and Councilman Allgood, I'm sure, can weigh in on this too, being the former police chief, but a lot of that, there's obviously, when anything like that happens, there's gonna be an investigation that's done.
4 months.
On that, and sometimes that takes a while, because on things like that, of that serious of a nature, you wanna make sure that you get everything right. And so, a lot of confidentiality in that, but I can guarantee that our fine officers do not take that lightly in that regard. So there's a lot of information that we just don't know about, as far as what led to those types of circumstances and those things. But again, we have to let, the due process to play out in regards to that. And I know that 4 months seems like that's plenty of time, but there's a lot of moving parts in something like that. I have never been involved in those, but like I said, Councilman Allgood, I'm sure could weigh in, but there are so many different things to look at and review that you just don't want to get it wrong. And so you want to take the time to get it right in that regard. But our police officers have my utmost respect. I know that they do the best they can in their job, and they take it very seriously. And those things they do not take lightly, and that would be a last recourse in any regards to that. And again, not knowing the circumstances and surroundings of that will lead to that, that they're trained, for incredibly difficult circumstances and that. So I'd say we just to allow the time to go for the investigation to continue, to see what all the facts are, just rather than jump into conclusions. They do not take those things lightheartedly, and very difficult in those circumstances, but they would have my utmost trust, to make sure that they do the right thing, and I respect them 100% in what they do and are willing to do in that regard. In regards to the swimming pool, and the Parks and Rec building, I'll let our finance director touch on that. The swimming pool, yes, it will be down for another summer. This year we did meet recently with the designers, and Carol was there in that meeting also, she can touch on that. And we talked to them and, try to see what can we do to get this up and running this year. And I know a big issue is supplies, trying to get the necessary equipment to do that. There was some safety issues in regards, because I know you had mentioned that about, is this going to lead kids to, drain ditches and things like that, which obviously is a safety issue. There's a safety issue at the pool regarding the grounding that's required in the decking when you're around water surfaces. And so to be able to get the supplies that we need is going to be several months, unfortunately, whether it's stuck on a boat out in the ocean somewhere or even on its way here, we're not sure. But they have indicated to us that it'll be several months before we can get that equipment here to get those fixes taken care of. And I think if you allow Mrs. Mitchell to come to the mic, she can address some of that. And also the Parks and Rec building, I think she can address that as well.
They didn't seem to have any problem finding supply chain issues with their new office building that they're building now.
So, and that has probably been in the works for some time and been ordered, well before. And if you'll allow Ms. Mitchell to please come to the mic and she can address some of the rest of those.
All right, but still, I'm taking an active investigation, which I've been told that there was body cams of the situation. The whole thing probably took 30 seconds. And 4 months to investigate it, and we got Canyon County Sheriff's Office, and we got state police, like I say, brother and brother-in-law, investigating it.
Yeah, and I don't know about that, but we can definitely look into that. But again, our police officers do an amazing job of what they do out there, what they're willing to sacrifice for all of us. So if you allow Ms. Mitchell to come forward, she can address
I'm an old man that lives in Colville, and I don't want to get shot.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Wolf, public, to respond to your question about the Parks and Rec Department, that building has been in the process of saving for the reconstruction, new build for 3 years now. We have a bid in place, and we are actively actually moving dirt right now to get that underway. As far as the swimming pool, was closed last summer due to the grounding issue, as the mayor has, addressed. Then we looked at, maybe this is the time, because of the cost to fix that grounding, to build a new pool. So we started the process of looking at building the new pool. And as time went on over last year, that pool kept getting more and more expensive. We started off with a $2 million budget. We hoped to have the cost in at $3 million, then the cost came in at $6 million, then they came in at $9 million, and then in November, the cost came in at $12 million. So at that point in time, we decided to say, let's stop what we're doing, reevaluate the new pool and the cost for that new pool, and see if we couldn't do something to make our current pool workable so that it's a safe place for people in our public to come and be and enjoy the pool at its finest. So.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell, appreciate that. So again, like, we want to make sure that it's safe and that it's appropriate, so we're doing everything we can to make sure in that regards.
One more time.
Okay, come up, if you could keep it brief so we can get to the remainder of our agenda, we'd appreciate that.
As to the grounding issue, I've been an electrician all my life. And they plowed across the park there, they went up the pole to the high line and brought a 13,000 volt line over to a transformer that's 50 feet away from the water. And I called the building inspector today to ask him where in the code did it said you could do that. And there's where your grounding problem came from. You built it.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to come forward and speak on anything that's not on the agenda this evening? If you could come forward, please state your name.
Howdy, my name's Dave, just some general questions. So for the affordable housing that we're working on as the city and the council members, the mayor, what was your guys' price goal for an average individual to buy a house? So I'm 27, I own a house now, but I bought before we skyrocketed here a little while ago. So what was your guys' estimate for that? And then if we have, hopefully there's no out-of-staters in here, but if we have out-of-staters who come in, I have friends, we love the Californians and the other people, I have friends from Texas over here. Is there a way for us to put a one-time occupancy tax when they buy a house if they have finances that would be able to afford to help the lower income individuals here? So I had a one-time occupancy tax of about $1,000. Would it be possible to have a $5,000 or $10,000 occupancy tax for out-of-staters to buy a house to help with the taxes for the lower income individuals here? And then you all suggested, well, August suggested a possible moratorium. What would sway your guys' vision on that, on starting one or ending one in any time frame? And then this one involves the school, and I don't know if this one is true, but for life skills to improve the high schools, so when they graduate, we have to take senior design classes now for juniors and seniors. Would there be a way for us to help them have financial classes, like a sort of a Dave Ramsey course to give them guidance on how you make a budget, how you should live life, 401k, some simple guidance on that to help assist them? And then the last question, which I don't know if anyone has an answer on this one, but you talked about transitional housing, and so if in theory we have rental houses and transitional housing, what would be an ideal situation in which Caldwell envisions all three of those? So do we have it 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or 66% of homes, single-family residences, and then the other 33% would be transitional and rental housing? Just because you had brought it up last time, and I was wondering how your guys' vision was for that.
Okay, very good. I think I got most of them now, so we'll try to get them. So, the occupancy tax, and that one of those ones with the high school and the financial class. So the occupancy tax, that's probably more of a state issue with the state legislature. If you wanted to enact legislation or something of that accord. The high school, you mentioned about doing a finance class. I know that actually did come up in the legislature a few years ago about, I don't know if it was a requirement for that or just encouraging schools to do that. They would have like basically a finance 101 for students when they came out in that regard. And so I remember that was discussed. I don't think it was a requirement, but it was encouraged for the school district to consider that and look into doing that. And that would be kind of each school district would have, it's not a state requirement, but each school district has that opportunity if they want to implement that, require that as a class, they could do that. You talked about the affordable housing, the transitional housing, and So we are in process of doing a comprehensive plan map review. So there'll be some community outreach that'll be going on, and what that is the comprehensive plan map kind of indicates where do we want, multifamily type housing projects, which a lot of that's gonna be affordable housing projects. Where do we want, single family, where do we want more estate type lots, where do we want commercial? And so I would recommend, so I believe Mr. Mapp is there, is he still here? Oh, he was. So this young lady right here, Miss Ruth, so she is our senior planner, so she could help you get her information and let you know when we're gonna be having those meetings. So I would highly recommend you get involved in those. That's really where, and I think you hit it right on the head that we talked about, how many, affordable housing units do we need in the city of our size? How many single-family housing units should we have? How many apartment buildings should we have in a city this size? Because you don't wanna focus all on one or all on the other. We need an affordable mix, like you said. And so I know that those were questions that were proposed to the planning and director to start research on that and see if city of our size, how many of those types of units should we have at each one of those to make sure we're growing appropriately. And then designating certain areas in the city for multifamily, for single family, for affordable living projects. And so I recommend getting her contact information, and she can let you know when those are gonna start taking place. Ultimately, we'll end up here for approval with the city council, but before that, there'll be multiple, community meetings, outreach meetings, and so you'll wanna get involved in that and get your input into those. And then the moratorium, you had mentioned on that. So, there are different types of moratoriums. There was one that was enacted last summer, that was a moratorium on preliminary plats, residential annexations, residential rezones, I believe is what that covered in that regards, to try to, give a pause to those things. It was not a moratorium on building permits, it was not a moratorium on anything else other than just those final plat applications. It's not a moratorium on those, it was just on the applications for the preliminary plat and things of that nature. So there's none planned at this time, but that's what was happening last year with those. So I would highly recommend getting Debbie's information, and she can let you know when those are gonna start taking place.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to come forward this time? The record reflected no one came forward. So with that, moves us to our consent calendar, and we do have one amendment. I believe, I don't know if anybody has that motion before them, but it would be, we need to remove item number 6 from the consent calendar, move it to the regular, new business of, it'd be item number 6A. Yes.
I made that request, and then Jose Menchaca called me, gave me an explanation. I don't know whether other members want an explanation on number 6, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, anyway, he called me and explained it, so I was satisfied with it, but if we need to hear it, I'll be fine.
Perfect. And we'll let you explain.
Okay.
How that sounded. So we would need a motion to amend the consent calendar, removing item number 6 and relocating it to 6A in new business.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the consent calendar. Second, all those in, so actually, roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk. Oh, I guess for the amendment, yeah, we don't need it. So just for the amendment to remove item number 6, located on new business as item number 6A, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, if we could have a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second? So we have a motion from Councilor Register and a second from Councilor McGee. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Register,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
McGee, August,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Very good, motion passes. So that moves us on to old business, and both items on old business, action item number 1 and action item number 2. The applicant has requested that these be continued to the regularly scheduled city council meeting to be held on April 18th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to move both of those items to that date and time? Do we have a second? We have a motion by Councilor McGee and a second by Councilor Doty to move old business items number 1 and 2 to the the regularly scheduled city council meeting on April 18th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So we'll move those to April 18th. Which moves us now to new business. And our first action item on new business is to consider the recommendation by Mayor Wagner for the appointment of Richard Frawley as the Caldwell Fire Chief. So Mr. Frawley is in the back coming forward. So I had the opportunity, to meet with, Chief Frawley. If you'd like to come forward, please do so. And in reviewing his resume, in discussion with him, and especially in discussion with the references, that he provided, either he is dead broke because he had to pay them off with so much money, or they just have the most amazing things to say about him. And echoed just, it was neat to see as I talked to each one of them, and we talked probably for at least a half an hour with each one of them, and they just reiterated what the other one had said. And so it was just neat to see that and hear that, and I have full confidence in Chief Raleigh and excited for him to take over as our new fire chief. And I know that he will do great things with them, and I know that the fire department is extremely excited, to have him come on board and to see what he can do. So with that, I would, well, actually, does anybody have any questions for Chief Raleigh at this time?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
I really don't have any questions for him. I just had a great opportunity to sit on your hiring panel and was also very impressed, and definitely, very interested in the way that we can take the grants for the fire department, and your resume is quite heavy in that area, so I appreciate you coming and testing, and now here you are, so, thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Mayor, council, city staff, and community members. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. It's been a great career for me in the fire service in the past 27 years, touching on different aspects of fire operations, fire administration, emergency response, and this opportunity to build on the strong work that has been done in the organization prior to my arrival. Really looking forward to that opportunity and building on the foundation they've set and working with our firefighters.
Very good, excellent. Any other questions or remarks? Okay, very good. With that, then I would stand for a motion, for the appointment of Richard Frawley as Caldwell's new fire chief.
So moved.
Very good, is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stoddard for the appointment of Richard Frawley as the Caldwell Fire Chief. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Doty,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
Alden.
Very good, then it passes, you're stuck. So we will have an official swearing in the first part of April, when Chief Frawley's wife can be here with them, so we can do that. So, with that, though, I would extend my congratulations and how excited we are to have you officially on board now, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good, okay, so that moves us on to action item number 2, case number OA 2107. Request of the Caldwell Planning and Zoning Department to adopt an amended zoning map and 2040 comprehensive plan land use map that supersedes the one from last year. And if I'm not mistaken, this is that yearly update from all the changes from last year, is that correct, Ms. Root?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. This actually covers 2 years of map amendments that have been approved by, this council, to include a few comprehensive plan map amendments, annexations, and some, rezones that occurred with the comprehensive map plan changes. Again, these, annexation, rezones, and comprehensive plan amendments have been already before this council and approved. The ordinances have been recorded, the maps have been amended, and we're just doing a cleanup for the official, maps of the city.
Perfect, excellent. Are there any questions from any of the councilors for Ms. Root?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Stoddard.
I'm just curious, does this incorporate what the county wants to do with the new urban renewal district?
This map amendment has nothing to do with the urban renewal district. We will be, looking at that. We need to expand our area of impact in a couple of areas to, cover some of those the urban renewal district, and also some area to the west of the city.
And what would be the timetable on that process?
We have not,
Haven't talked to him yet.
anything at this
Okay.
point.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Any other questions from any councilors? Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that. There is nobody signed up, to testify in regards to this item. So is there a, let's see, motion to, I guess I need to follow all through, a motion to close public testimony? Is there a second? Very good. So we have a motion from, I believe it's Councilor McGee, correct, and a second from Councilor, Register to close public testimony on this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then with that, do we have a motion to approve case number OA 2107? I do not believe are there findings of fact, conclusions of law in this, just the order, is that correct?
So moved.
Is there a second? So a motion from Councilor Stodic and a second from Councilor McGee to approve case number OA 2107.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes.
There was a motion there needs to be a motion to waive three reading rule on that one, prior to the,
Is that on the next one or on this one? Is that
on number 3.
Okay, so, but do we need to approve number 2 first though, or just jump to 3?
At this point, Mayor, Council, it sounds, I think that you're on action item 2, which is public hearing, you close the, hearing itself and our approving the application. But you get the ordinance, that will certainly require a waiver.
Perfect, so I should we go with this vote and then we'll move to that to pass the, on that, okay, very good. Madam Clerk?
Dottie,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Register. Yes. Alden,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
McGee.
Very good. Motion passes. Is there a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion from Councilor Stodic and a second from Councilor Register. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So that moves us on to action item number 3. Consider bill number 8, ordinance number 3402 for case number OA 2107, the zoning map update with a request to waive the rules and pass on the first reading. By title only, so I will read this title. It's nice and short, about time. These have been really long. So the title is an ordinance adopting an amended zoning map that supersedes and replaces the official zoning map as adopted by the city of Caldwell on March 7th, 2022. Is there a motion to waive the, let's see if I can get this right, waive the 3 reading rules and pass on it, or waive the 3 reading process and pass on its first reading?
Oh, that was so fast, I didn't realize you were finished.
I told you it was short, so.
So
We get a second. So we have a motion from Councilor, Doty and a second from Councilor McGee to waive the 3 reading rules and pass bill number 8, ordinance number 3402 on its first reading by title only. Can I do this? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Jody,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Register.
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
Alden.
Yes.
Very good. So the rules have been waived. Do we have a sponsor for bill number 8, ordinance number 3402?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Alden.
I'll sponsor bill number 8, ordinance number 3402, and move for its passage. And there does not appear to be a summary for approval on this one.
No, correct. Okay. Is there a second? Very good. So we have a motion from Councilor Alden and a second from Councilor McGee to approve bill, or that has been sponsored for bill number 8, ordinance number 3402, to pass on its first reading. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alden,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Register.
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes. That moves us to action item number 4, consider resolution number 105-22 for case number OA 2107 for the comprehensive plan land use map update. So this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Caldwell, Idaho, amending the City of Caldwell comprehensive plan map in its entirety. And that is it. And we don't need to waive any on this, right? It's just a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Stodic to approve resolution number 105-22. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That moves us on to action item number 5. Consider bill number 9, ordinance number 3403, to annex 1701 Smead Parkway into the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District with a request to waive the rules and pass on the first reading. Mr. Orton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'll give a quick explanation of this. This is a routine, an item that's routine in nature, and it's different from a request to annex into the incorporated limits of the city, which would be to bring something into the city. Instead, this is an annexation to the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District, which is the city's irrigation entity. It's managed by our water department, and so when a request comes from someone who's developed land and wants to have, access to irrigation as provided by Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District, we annex them into that district, or the opportunity is placed before the council to annex them in. What that means is they'll then pay, we will pay the irrigation assessment appurtenant to the land if it's in Pioneer Irrigation District, for instance. And then they would pay the city, the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District, for the water and for the cost to pressurize that water, et cetera, the fees that you set in January for the municipal irrigation district. The municipal irrigation district is established under Title 50 of Idaho Code, which deals with municipal corporations, or like cities, while other irrigation districts are established under 42 and 43, Title 42 and 43 of Idaho Code. So, use Pioneer Irrigation District, and they're a Title 42 irrigation entity, and we are called the Municipal Irrigation District as a Title 50 irrigation entity, which we refer to that generally as a delivery agent. We're taking water that is provided by Pioneer and delivering it to that property. So all the pressurized irrigation systems in subdivisions that you see in Caldwell are part of the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District, and our team manages those, and you make decisions and set the budget, et cetera, for that. So I won't explain this like that in the future unless you want me to, but I just wanted to kind of give a little summary of how that works, and it happens on request from an individual, and so it's a voluntary thing. They want to be a part of that, have access to that watershed. So I'll answer your question.
Any questions from the council? Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Orton. Appreciate that explanation. So I will read this bill and ordinance by title only. So bill number 9, ordinance number 3403, an ordinance of the city of Caldwell, Idaho, annexing a portion of property within the corporate city limits into the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District of the city of Caldwell, Caney County, Idaho, and changing the boundaries thereof, directing the city engineer to alter the boundary map accordingly, declaring the intent of the city to pool water rights and apply a uniform method of allocating assessments and charges, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Ogden.
I move that we get back where we're at. I move that we consider, that we waive the 3 reading rule and consider bill number 9, ordinance 3403 on its first reading by title only.
Is there a second? Very good. So a motion from Councilor Ogden and a second from Councilor McGee, to waive the 3 reading rule, waive the rules and pass ordinance number 9, or bill number 9, ordinance number 3403 on its first reading. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
August,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Scotty,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ogden.
I'll sponsor bill number 9, ordinance number 3403, and move for its passage.
Is there a second? So the motion from Councilor Allgood, second from Councilor McGee for the approval of bill number 9, ordinance number 3403. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
August,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Scotty,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Very good, motion passes. That moves us on to action item number 6. Make sure I don't forget 6A, Debbie, after this one. So, this is to approve the appointment of Dave Moore to the Caldwell Urban Renewal Board of Commissioners for a term to expire July 1st, 2025. I believe you all received the letter that Mr. Moore had submitted, an opportunity to review that. So Mr. Moore had reached out, asking for opportunities to serve in some capacity. He is an experienced banker with Zions Bank, and I thought that he could bring a great perspective to the Urban Renewal Commission. He grew up, let's see if I can get my directions off of like 5th Avenue and Denver, in that area. Moved away for a little bit, but he came back and he wanted to move back in that area. He could have lived somewhere else, with a little bit fancier, nicer house, but he loved that community, and he wanted to be a part of it and try to make it better. And I love that aspect of that, and I think he'll bring a great perspective, from an underdeveloped, underutilized area, to the Urban Renewal Commission. When I meet, I'm hoping that Councilor Doty and Councilor Williams can attest to that. I don't ask them if they're in favor or against urban renewal. All I ask them is that they have an open mind, and take every application into consideration of its own merit, and whether they vote for it or against it, as long as they come in with that open mind, that's all I ever seek in those positions in that regard. So, and Mr. Moore indicated that he would do that, and again, weigh each of those requests of their own merit, whether it's in the interest of the city or not. So with that, I don't know if there's any comments or discussions in regards to that appointment, or if there's a motion for that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Algood.
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here. I've known Dave Moore, known him for a long time, and I like him. He would be wonderful on the board. But I believe he owns property in the new urban renewal area. I don't know whether that would create a conflict with him or not, and that might be something we would ask him. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I just wanted to say that, so it was out there.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. That's why actually we put this, we kind of messed up last time. I apologize to Councilor, Doty in public for that. There was one last time that we thought, we'd have some discussion on, but it was on the consent calendar, so we wanted to make sure that this was on the regular so we could have that discussion. I'm not aware of that. Debbie, I'm not sure if you are, and also Mr. Waterman, if you want to weigh in, if that would present any, if he does, if it would present any conflicts, or if he would just need to recuse himself if there was an issue nearby at his property.
Mayor and council. Mayor.
Come to the mic, my friend.
So Mayor and council, it has the potential to present a conflict. Obviously, you are all residents of the city of Caldwell. That has the potential, you would have fewer potential conflicts if you were residents of some other city. So that may arise, but there's nothing that would preclude, a person who owns property in an area that is part of the renewal plan from serving on their renewal commission.
Excellent, and good point. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second? So we have a motion to approve the appointment of Dave Moore to the Caldwell Urban Renewal Board for a term to expire July 1st, 2025. Motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor McGee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And you'll notice we have made a change in that. There used to be 3 city council members, 3 at-large members. We have changed that where we have 2 city council members now and 4 at-large members to try to get more community involvement on the urban renewal board, which I think is a good thing. So excited for that change that we've made in that regard. That would conclude action item number 6. I almost skipped it even after I said not to. So item number 6A, which is from the amended consent calendar, came down. So this is approved resolution authorizing the purchase of a citywide Mitel Revolution phone system for use of ARPA funds in the amount of $92,673. Councilor Allgood, do you mind, or I guess we can have Carol do it, so you don't have to. Okay.
Okay. You guys had a question on the removal of, the Mitel phone system. So the Mitel phone system is an upgrade to our city phone system. It is the landline, desk phones that we have at our desks. This, new system is also, and I'm gonna pronounce it, and I'm gonna butcher it, antimicrobial bicidal something. It is a component, it's got some components in it that repels viruses. So every time we pick up our phone, obviously, we're transmitting. So this phone will repel those viruses as well. We don't share desk phones, but the utility billing department does share desk phones. So those people that have their own desks up front, they also have other people when they're out of the office. We also have other staff that will sit up there and answer those phones using those people's same phones. So we do wipe the phones down, but this also is a virus repelling component pieces to that. This is used with ARPA money. That's the American Rescue Plan Act funding. So this is coming out of that grant funding money that we received from the government last year. This also provides the opportunity for our phone system to now broadcast messages. So if we have, a situation where it's decided we need to all go into a lockdown mode or something, we can now broadcast something like that to all of our city phones for city staff. If we need to send out a message, and those that are working from home, they now will receive those kind of broadcasting messages, that, the mayor or council may deem that we need to send out citywide. So instead of playing the phone tree or trying to email people and trying to text people, we can now do it through this phone system.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, Councilor.
Mr. Mitchell, is this just a one-time, fund from the Fed Cent? What about the maintenance and operations? Does that have to go into next year's budget, or?
So the annual maintenance on this, we already have the MITEL in our annual budget for maintenance.
Okay,
This will only increase that budget by $3,800 for annual increase.
good, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve, the resolution to authorize the purchase of the MITEL Revolution phone systems? Do we have a second? There's a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Williams for approval of this resolution. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
McGee,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Alden.
Yes. Very good.
Motion passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Mitchell, for that explanation. So that moves us on to action item number 7, consider acceptance of the finance report. I thought I would go towards you, Councilor.
I'll read that if I have it.
So,
Give it.
I'll read it. We can break that for a moment or two.
you wanted to watch your expertise, you said first, so.
Right here, right here. All right, the finance committee has, the finance committee has reviewed current accounts payable in the amount of $1,485,185.84 for the period ending March 2nd, 2022, and net payroll of $426,936.76 for pay period ending February 12th of 22. I move that accounts payable in the amount of $1,485,185.84 represented by check numbers 160184 through 160356 and payroll for the amount of $426,936.76 represented by check numbers 37058 through 37065 and direct deposits be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good, so a motion from Councilor Doty, a second from Councilor Stoddard for the approval of or acceptance of the finance report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That moves us to council reports. Councilor Register.
I don't, but I did want to commend you on a great state of the city.
Thank you very much.
Really nice, and I thought you did a really good job, and it's great speech and short enough.
Yeah, that's what I say, if you keep it short enough, everybody will like it, no matter what you say, so.
Thought you did a great job and have a great vision.
Very good, I appreciate that very much, so thank you so much. Councilor Stoddard.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, thank the, staff folks that, communicated with the Veterans Board for that, handicap situation we have out there. I think, Rob probably called. Right, okay. You might extend that thanks to him, I appreciate that, thank you.
Excellent. Councilor Doty.
I would just like to reiterate, like I do often, of Carol's staff with all the finances that's sent my way, and I can see why Councilor McGee doesn't want that duty.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. Oh, you want this one? Go ahead and take this. So, I appreciate you and your staff's work on that every couple of weeks, and so much appreciated.
Excellent. Councilor Williams.
Yeah, likewise, I'd like to thank the staff. Being the newbie on the board, I've needed probably a lot more help than, a lot of people, and they've just been exceptionally willing to, fill me in and help me out, and it's in addition to their regular responsibilities to keep them busy, and, the staff deserves appreciation for that.
Thank you very much. Councilor Alden.
This is kind of nothing for nothing, but it just, over my years on the council, I've been on a number of committees, and everybody's assigned committees. Some committees, you're a voting member, some committees, you just are there. And it almost seems like a waste of time when you're not a voting member, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're moving forward, I think as we're choosing committees to be on, it would be my preference if we're gonna attend those meetings that we have a vote, or at least know whether we have a vote or not. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but, like I said, some you're just there to listen, others you actually have an active part in, and I think we should have some clarification on how we do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Because I was, for example, not to butt in, Colo Housing Authority, for example, like Mr. Ginsburg is here, and I think Brad is on, or Councilor Doty's on that now. Yeah, when I first got on, I'm like, do I vote, do I not? I know there's times like, for that first meeting, you kind of vote under your breath, just in case you have to, but not loud enough, and people are like, what's that idiot saying something?
I believe Veterans Council, you are a voting member?
Yes.
Yes, and then on, CHA, we're not, correct?
Correct.
That is correct, and that's been one of the things that I've been interested in for many years.
If you're gonna, please come up.
Maybe we want you to come up.
So since you've limited my time to only 5 minutes tonight, I just want you to know that my civics class that I give is 2 hours, so I will be done with my civics class sometime in April of 2024. So this is one of the things that I've been concerned about for many years now, is the inconsistency of the boards within the city. And maybe the city does need a policy with regards to boards and commissions. For example, how many years do you serve on the board? How many, or can you live way out on the outskirts of notice and be on a city board? Should there be a residency requirement that if you, if you serve on a board, Caldwell board, 3 of your 5 members or 5 of your 7 members have to live within the city limits or at least within a certain impact area. And right now, there's none of those. And there is nobody here on the board who remembers some of the controversy that we've had with the Caldwell Housing Authority Board in years past. And it kind of touched on another issue that was brought up earlier about how do you get somebody off a board? You just simply make a motion to remove them from the consent agenda. You have an executive session, and you come back a couple weeks later and you pound out the issue. But those are issues that we deal with boards all the time. So I think you do need a city policy.
And maybe a question, I don't know if you know, Mike, or maybe Mr. Waterman, is it each board that decides if the city council liaison is a voting member or not, or the bylaws of each board, that the board creates their bylaws and approves that?
So it's the bylaws of each board. So as for the housing authority, we get our authority under Idaho code. And so Idaho code says this is the way our board shall be made up. And then we just give you the list of names, and that's how it's going. Apart from that, I think it's up to every board, their bylaws, how it is that they put them together, and whether or not they let a member, a liaison vote. And again, this goes, we've got rich history with the housing authority. We've trenched this swamp before. And it was decided some time ago that Mr. Blocker should be a voting member. But I really wish he was a voting member. So.
Yeah, so if you want to vote, just need to take Mike out to breakfast. Thought they were gonna get the change. So, no, and that's a great question, because like, I've always wondered that too, like, because I know, I didn't know the Veterans Council you could vote. I knew obviously on urban renewal, Commissioner, you vote on that, but some you do and some you don't.
We have a lot of them, and they're all different. It'd be nice to have some kind of, figure out what we're doing there.
Yeah, so maybe even a little more, because it sounds like it's really up to each committee, how they do their bylaws on, the role that we play on that. So it could even be where we maybe have some information about the committee, so when those assignments are made, that you receive that packet that says, yes, you vote, no, you don't vote, this is when they meet, this is what they discuss. So that could be something that we could work on, and maybe have each of those commissions or committees put something together for us that kind of discusses that, if you give to each member. So, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Councilor McGee? Oh, very good. So I do have just one item, and actually goes kind of in line with, what, Councilor Auger was talking about. So our impact fee committee. So we do not have any city council members on that committee. But I know there's been some questions recently, and I was talking with Mr. Orton today about, when can we reconvene sooner rather than later to kind of get that committee together to start looking at our impact fees and make sure that they are appropriate, if they need to be increased or not. So in our discussion, we are in compliance with our members. However, there was code recently adopted by the legislature, and now does require all members of the impact fee committee to reside within the jurisdictional boundaries of the governmental entity. So in reviewing our committee, we have 5 members. 3 of them do not live in city limits. And so the thought was if we are gonna, and I mean, it says that if you have ones, when this is put in place, they're kind of grandfathered in until their term expires. But the thought was if we are gonna start looking at these seriously and seeing, you know, if we do need to make adjustments to these, perhaps it's the time, you know, we could wait, but again, it's, do you build your house to minimum code, or do you go above and beyond? And so the question is, that I pose to you, should we just get it up to code and up to snuff right now, rather than waiting and allowing the members of the city, to decide on this and make these recommendations? So I just wanted to get the kind of the councilors' thoughts on that, if you'd like to see this change now rather than later.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, this is current law, or this goes into effect on July 1?
No, it is. It went into effect last year, July 1st of 2021, so it is current law.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
Are
Robinson.
the people on the committee city employees that just don't live in the city, or are these members of the public?
Members of the public. There are advisors on there, but you're, if I'm not mistaken, not voting members, city employees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and actually one of the code changes was, Debbie's saying go to the other.
Get your steps in, come up to the front.
One of the code changes with this same, modifications to the state statute also made it clear that city employees are not to be, members of the committee. We're not voting members, we're support staff. And so, anyway, yeah, so to that point.
I believe city council members as well cannot be members of that committee, correct?
Right, yeah, it's very specific about that, it's 2 people from real estate, building, land development, industry at least, and then a minimum of 5 people at this point, all now required to reside in. And to the mayor's point, it does allow us to retain those folks until the term expires, but ultimately, to be in full compliance with this statute, we'll end up having to have everyone be residing in city limits.
So it sounds like maybe everybody's in agreement that maybe we'll bring it up to code now, since we're gonna start looking at this. So that is the consent, so that would be, we would bring those names before you for approval. So I would, if you have people that you think would be good on that committee, and ideas, to email me those names. So I said there would be 3, so I may get more than 3 suggestions from you, also we can't put them all in there, but, if you have those thoughts, if anybody you think would be good on that impact fee committee, you know, our goal is to really, within the next month or 2, to get them together, and to start looking at our impact fees and see if they're appropriate or not, so.
Mr. Mayor, could we have, maybe, Debbie, email us the current members and who's in city limits and who isn't, so we know?
Yeah, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Definitely. Okay, and that was really all that I had, so I appreciate that. Well, maybe just real quick, appreciated all of you being at the State of the City. It's one of those things that I very much look forward to and enjoy, but I was also very excited to get it over with, in that regard. So, and just a shout out to Horsewoods. They did our catering for us, and it was phenomenal, of what they did, and they do great work on that, so we appreciate their willingness to be a part of that, and our sponsors also that were a part of that. So very much enjoyed it, and there was a lot of cool things, but I think the coolest was at the end. So I have young boys, and they all came up to me, and they did not want to be there, even though they got out of school. They were like, "Dad, we'd rather go to school." I'm like, "Nope, you're coming, you're gonna be there," which surprised me a little bit, but at the end, they came up, and it was neat. It was very heartfelt. Every one of them just said, "Good job, Dad, you did a good job today," and it wasn't, you know, I mean, it was very heartfelt, and that meant a lot coming from them, so I did enjoy that very much. So, I'm just excited for this year to come. So there's some great things. I tell people that's the easy part, is to get up and talk it. The hard part's getting it done. So now we get to roll up our sleeves and get to work, get those things accomplished. I'm excited for that, and to do that with each and every one of you. And I hope you know that I meant that I'm excited to work with each and every one of you, and the commitment you give is noticed and appreciated. So keep it going. That concludes my remarks. And so with that, we do have a motion to go into executive session. So moved. Do we have a second? Second. Very good, so the motion from Councilor Doty, a second from Councilor Stoddard to go into executive session. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Jody?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Webster?
Yes.
Dottie?
Yes.
McKee? Yes. All good.
Yes.
Very good, so motion passes. We are in